Hey everyone, it's Megan from Clover Design Co. and I'm so thrilled that you're here with the Summer Workshop series. I know that Peggy is just as thrilled too. Today I'm going to be showing you how to turn your digital art onto a physical product. I included a digital download that you can use for this project. I used a vinyl record and this is what the print will look like. You can use anything you want. I just find that it's nice and simple and easy. And if you have any other kind of canvas to work with, like a wood sign or a coaster or any kind of ceramic, that will work too. I'm really excited. I also, if you are interested in painting on vinyl records and other circle-shaped canvas type things, I have some guides for you that you can go to my website and download for free so that when you are planning out your canvas, you can see what everything will look like before you actually put it on a physical vinyl record or circle-shaped canvas. I'm so excited. Now let's get started. All right, so now I'm just going to get into the materials that you'll need for this project. So choose any kind of medium that you want to paint on. That could be a wood sign, it could be a stretched canvas, coasters, really anything. I'm going to use this old vinyl record. They're really cheap. I love using them because I usually I never spend more than like $5 on them. I'm going to get a few paintbrushes of different sizes depending on my design. And I've got a little chalk, just a regular piece of chalk that I sharpened, which is like super easy to use on vinyls because I find that using a pencil is a lot harder to see the lines with. And I've got some just acrylic paint. You can literally just get this at Walmart or Michael's for like $1 each. Super cheap. And then a projector is something that is super important, at least to me, for this project because it allows you to show your digital design onto whatever you're painting on, and then you can trace it super easily. This I got for like $60, and there are definitely cheaper ones that work just as well. I would say like $40 to $60 is the price range usually for these, but yeah, you can get them on Amazon. That's where I got this one. It works really nice and it's in like really good condition. And then I'm just gonna show what my digital design is real quick. It's a little hard to see, but yeah, just super simple. Honestly, the simpler the better because then that's easier to transfer whatever you're doing on to your canvas. If it's a little more detailed, or the more detailed it gets, the harder it becomes to like trace those lines from the projector. So I would stick with anything simple. And then at the end, I'm going to show you, well, I'm not really going to show you, I'm just going to say it, but I usually seal all of my painted vinyls with this. It's just Krylon clear glaze spray. It works on wood, plastic, glass, ceramic, pretty much anything. The only thing I wouldn't recommend using this on is stuff like this, which I'm sure you've seen at Walmart. It's like this white distressed kind of wood. The problem with this one is that it's kind of like powdery, so if you spray anything on it, it like darkens the white and it kind of ruins the effect. So I wouldn't recommend using this particular one on things like this. You might not even need to seal stuff like this because, especially if it's going to be indoors, so you wouldn't have to worry about that too much. And then to hook up my design to the projector, I'm just going to use one of these dongles. It fits my iPad, and then it has an HDMI spot here as well, and that connects to the projector here, which if you get the projector, it will come with an HDMI cord, so you should be good to go there. And this isn't super necessary. I just have a paint palette to keep all my paint in, but you could just as easily use a paper plate. So first step would be to just get your projector set up. I have it on a tripod and it works out really well for it to be on the floor. Sometimes I'll do it on an easel like against the wall, but this tends to work out the best for me. So I'm just gonna grab my chalk and start tracing. And sometimes too, when I'm adjusting what I need to fit on the vinyl, I'll just kind of resize what it is on my iPad, like the design on my iPad, so then that way it's exactly how I want it to look. And so here, like I said, the simpler the design, the better, because then it allows for not as many errors, which is what we're going for. You may also have noticed that my design doesn't quite fit my canvas, and that is totally okay, especially in this scenario, because I can just kind of make up the lines as I go. You'll see me kind of do that in just a couple of minutes, where I just kind of, imagine what the rest of the line would look like. And that's pretty much what you're going to have to do for any part of tracing, because it will never be completely accurate. Okay, so you can see here that the lines are showing up really well. I know it's hard to see when the projector is on. It's even hard for me to see sometimes just not looking through a camera. But yeah, I'm not super concerned either with all these jagged lines, because I'm going to be able to fix that once I start painting. It's also really easy for your hand to kind of move the canvas while you're tracing this, and it's okay if that happens, because like I said, you can just kind of correct whatever you need to when you're painting. And this is just going back to the importance of doing like a simple design, so then that way you're not super concerned with what's in and out of place. So you can see here, like I was just saying, I'm just kind of imagining where the lines would go. I'm kind of filling in the gaps that I need to. It's not going to be perfect, and that is completely okay. It still looks really cool when it comes out, and it is all about just enjoying the process. All right, so now we are going to start painting, and if you want at this point, you can, kind of clean up your sketch if that will help you. I tend to not usually do that, just because now I like to go for it and paint, because I'm really excited about it. You'll also notice that as I'm going, you'll see that like our lines are kind of overlapping here, and I think that's okay. Like I said, because this is a simple design, it's easy to kind of redraw things after they get painted on, but you can also always go around it. I'm using different brushes as I need to. I've also got my iPad as a reference, just so that I can see the colors while I'm drawing or while I'm painting. It's also probably a good idea to put a paper towel down, so you don't get anything painted on that you don't want to paint on. So at least with vinyl records, you'll see here that like it takes a lot of layers for the paint to not show any black through, and so usually you just have to kind of wait and dry while in between, so it's kind of a process, but it's totally worth it because it gives such a cool look, especially because we're going to be keeping the label showing through. We'll just have a couple of leaves come through or be painted on the label, but this is going to look really cool. And if it ends up being that I have to paint over the leaves here, I can always just go back to my projector and once the paint is dry, draw back over this. That is especially important if you're going to be painting on like a background on your canvas before tracing. You'll want to paint the canvas first and then trace. Also, just another tip, if you're trying to match perfectly the colors that you did in your digital artwork, don't, because it's nearly impossible. Just be okay with the process and be kind to yourself as well. Mistakes are also bound to happen. I'm almost positive that I will probably make a mistake while making this video, so don't beat yourself up about it. Usually, if you do make a mistake, I can make a really small one just as an example. Let's say I kind of go a little too far out here, right? You can usually just get like a piece of wet paper towel and easily wipe it off. Or you could use your nail, push the paint away. it's usually really easy to get rid of mistakes like that, especially when the paint is still wet. But again, sometimes mistakes make the finished art piece look even cooler than you originally intended. So don't be afraid of mistakes. So I'm just putting a couple more paper towels down. I probably should have done this sooner, but you know, we make mistakes. We're all human. But yeah, it's important. Even just using newspaper or cardboard or anything like scrap paper is going to be perfect for what you'll want to paint, to put under your canvas, so that you don't mess anything up that's valuable. So with any dark colors that you have going on a dark surface like this, sometimes you don't need as many layers to make it less transparent. Like it just kind of gets opaque after about 2 layers or 2 coats of paint. And with the lighter colors, like you'll see here with the blue, like this teal blue, and then with the light pink, it takes, I'm not gonna lie, it took probably 4 or 5 coats just to get it to be like as opaque as I wanted it to get. And there's still a few places that need some touch-ups. So I'm probably going to do that later, because just for the sake of time, it just takes so long. So you'll just need to be ready and patient. And again, like I keep saying, I will never stop saying this, be kind to yourself. You are supposed to enjoy this, right? This is going to be like a beautiful piece of art that you've made and that you will be proud of. And so just enjoy the process, have fun with it. It's not as serious as you think that it is, I promise. So a little tip that you might see me doing is I like to, before, changing colors on my paintbrush, I'll just kind of wipe it off of a paper towel first if I still have like a thick coat of it on, and then I'll put it in the water to get like the excess off and then wipe it back on the paper towel. It's a lot of, going back and forth like that, but I think it's a lot easier. And even if you wanted to save some paint, you could, instead of wiping the paint from the paintbrush on a paper towel, try saying that 5 times fast. You could kind of put it back in your paint palette and scrape it off of the edge so that you can use that paint again later. If you kind of condense the paint together, like in a smaller space, it's more likely that it will stay wet for longer. And that way you don't have to keep trying to mix colors and adding paint when you just like ran out mid paint stroke, So that's just another tip that I've found to be super helpful in times like this. And like I was saying before, it's nearly impossible to match the same color that you have in your digital art as the color of your paint, unless you, I guess, get it specially ordered or something like that, or if you're just on the hunt for something super specific. So I do a lot of playing around with mixing colors, like mixing white or black or sometimes even brown gets like a nice earthy tone that you don't always get with a black color or with a white color. And so I just kind of mix it around, play with it, see what you like. And you'll probably notice by now that the top left, like where the teal minty blue color is, it is completely different from my digital color because it was just so hard for me to try and match it. I spent way too long trying to figure it out, and I was like, all right, if this just doesn't work, I'm just gonna go with it because this is still a pretty color. It still looks good with the rest of the canvas, and I'm still gonna like it. So if that happens, just give yourself some grace. It's also really hard, I've noticed, to get like a nice peachy color unless you have a peach color already. So I don't know, you could try with like a red and like a yellow, or a red with an orange even, and then some white. Sometimes that helps. But again, it's just all about experimentation and the process, and you're just wanting to, get as close as you can without trying to drive yourself insane, because no one wants that. You deserve better than that. Another little tip, if you're, doing several coats of paint, try to go really easy on the second coat, especially if your first coat is still drying, because sometimes if you kind of go in a little too hard with how hard you're pressing with your paintbrush, it'll create these weird streaks, these weird gaps of paint, and it'll show through the original canvas that you're using. So just go really light, go at an angle. You'll kind of see me moving my paintbrush at a really kind of 45-degree, almost completely horizontal angle in certain parts, and that's just to get as much paint on as possible without going through and pressing too hard on the original layer. Alright, so now I'm going to start painting the leaves while I wait for this side to dry. It's been taking a little while, so I'm just gonna go for it. A couple of just tips or reminders is that if you mess up, it's okay, right? So you can always paint over what you mess up, especially if it's on these blobs. And kind of just have fun with it. It's supposed to be a fun piece, right? And we're not going to compare ourselves, because we don't do that. Thank you. That is all I have to say. Oh, I lied. There is one more thing I have to say. Since the paint kind of has gone over the chalk, I'm just gonna loosely draw what we kind of lost here. And I'm also looking, like I said earlier, at my iPad for the original sketch. So now I know where my lines are, and it looks good. And I might wait to do this one because it's not fully dry yet still. So here I'm just filling in the leaves, and like I was saying, it'll take quite a few coats of paint to get through from the black part of the canvas. And but it gets really easy to paint over top of the blobs, the blue, right? So just kind of be patient with yourself. It will take a while, and something that has helped me in the past, especially with painting on vinyl records, is if you kind of just go at it with one or two strokes, not go over it too many times, then you'll have a less likelihood of it being super streaky later, and it'll kind of dry faster too, and that's super helpful, because then you don't have to wait and you're not as impatient as I am with waiting. Maybe you are, and we can bond over that together. Okay, so you may have noticed that I made a small little mistake on the leaf, and so I'm just going to bring it up to show you. It's kind of off-centered, so guess what? I'm not going to beat myself up over it. I'm just going to keep going and just keep painting. That is just what you do whenever you make a mistake, because it is bound to happen. But just move on. Don't think about it too much. Try not to freak out or beat yourself up. I will keep saying it until I die. Do not beat yourself up about this, because I do it all the time, and I know how hard it can be to criticize yourself and how mean that voice in your head can be. So if you just replace it with I'm doing a great job, this is going to look amazing, then you will have a much more fun time doing this. So the way that I got this kind of rusty orange color, like I was saying a little bit earlier, is I mixed the light orange color that you see in the top right with a little bit of yellow and a tiny little bit of brown. The brown goes a long way if you just use a small bit, and it gives it that really cool earthy, rusty look. Look, I made another mistake. Whatever am I going to do? I went a little too thick on the stem, so I'm just going to tell myself I'm amazing and that I'm still very talented and skilled, and I'm going to move on, because that's what we do. We don't beat ourselves up. We tell ourselves that we love ourselves and we love our art. So something that I tend to do, especially when drawing stems and stuff like this that are just one lines, I just have to kind of go for it. I know that sounds a lot easier said than done, but if you just are confident in your stroke and you just like do it in one stroke rather than being really slow about it, it'll turn out a lot better. And then that way it'll be easier to kind of go over it slowly with the second coat, with the third coat, with however many coats you need after that. Because once you have that established first confident line, then it'll be much easier to draw and to paint off of that later on. So I'm using a bunch of different sized brushes. This one in particular is probably one of the smallest ones I have. It's not like the smallest one, but it's just small enough to help me get that line that I need for like the tip of the leaf. And this other one, you can get these from Walmart or Amazon. That's where I get almost all of my paintbrushes. If I just need them for really cheap and I know that they're gonna, be thrown out in a couple of years or less, usually less. But yeah, I just, play around with what kind of paintbrushes you need. You can get a bunch of different sizes from Walmart or Amazon, and they're all relatively, they're very, very affordable. So yeah, just play around with what sizes you need, because that's what will get you the right lines for each piece in the design. Now, if you're also painting on a vinyl record like I am, you could totally paint the whole background a lighter color, like a cream or kind of a beige or like a dusty rose if you want. I don't usually do that. I have done it before and it still looks really cool. And it makes the colors pop a whole lot, especially with dark colors like the ones that I'm using here, like with the green and the dark blue on the left. And it looks amazing. I don't always like to do that just because sometimes I like to keep the label showing because it creates this really unique look, and it's kind of like, vintage and retro meets modern and designy. So that's kind of why I usually keep the labels on most of my designs. But again, do whatever you want, do whatever you think looks great, because this is ultimately your piece, and there's no need to compare to what other people are doing, because what you're doing is just as amazing. This part to me is so satisfying because I'm like filling in these spots that I know the paint is supposed to go, and now I'm finally at the stage where I can do that, and it's all coming together and it's making me super excited to see what the finished product is going to look like. And I love being able to just like fill in, I don't know, it's just one of those things that's so satisfying to watch even when you're doing it, you know what I mean? Like with all of those artists who post like satisfying painting content, like I know a couple of my friends do that, and it's just like, oh, you just want to keep watching, you never want to stop. It's so cool. Ooh, a quick little tip here that you just saw me do with the paintbrushes. If I have like paint on a paintbrush that I'm not wanting to use anymore and I want to transfer it over to another one, I will literally just brush them together. I'll just kind of scrape the paint off of the other brush with the new paintbrush, and that way I know it's silly, but I feel like I'm not wasting paint by doing that. And it usually sometimes even helps a little bit more than if I just dip the paintbrush into the paint, because I can like really control how much I'm putting on there, and it helps with like the tips, the small parts of the leaves and stuff like that. So little tip. Alright, now I get to do my second coat of this cool orange leaf. It's really coming together. I'm really excited. I like that it's like really darkening what I want it to, and I'm getting those little details that I may have missed before or that I wasn't able to get before because the paint was in the middle of drying. So it's just all coming together. It's making me really excited. I hope that you're getting excited too, because I cannot wait to see what you make and what you paint on, and all the things, all the things. Ooh, look at that color contrast. I really love how the orange is popping against that dark blue. Man, that looks good. I'm kind of proud of myself. I didn't know how this would turn out. I mean, I knew it would be fine. I knew I would like it either way, but I'm really digging this, Just kind of actually enjoying my work and what I'm doing. Ooh, we're coming up on the last couple leaves of the orange ones. I'm so excited. It's coming together so nicely. I don't even think that I'll need another coat of paint after this, if I'm being honest. I think it's coming through pretty well, and I like the way that it's looking. I'm just going to keep painting, what I need to at the moment. Sometimes a little too much paint can not ruin a piece, but it just makes it look like it's too caked on. So I'm trying to find that balance is all about what I'm doing here. Just gotta figure out what looks good, kind of take breaks as you go. Definitely take a 5-minute break every now and then. I definitely had to do that, and I had to stop the video and just walk away for about 5 minutes, because sometimes you just get so wrapped up in your head about what you're doing that you don't even take a step back to either appreciate what it looks like or take a second look at it and see if there's anything that needs to be done or not done. Sometimes you just need to stop. That's my hardest thing, is not adding more to a design, keeping it simple. That's why this in particular was really challenging for me, just to come up with a design, because I was like, ooh, let me add some small things here and small things there. But I was like, no, let's make this easy, make this simple. We don't want to make this harder for ourselves and then, have to hate ourselves later, because that would really stink. But yeah, so take a 5-minute break. Moral of the story, just take breaks when you need to, especially if your hand starts hurting. I don't know about you, but I get carpal tunnel all the time. My wrist acts up a lot and it starts to hurt. So sometimes just having even a 5 to 10 minute stretch break is super helpful for me to keep going. So since this vinyl record has an orangey red label in the middle, I noticed that the orange leaves don't really pop as much as I want them to, and I think that I might add some white lines a little bit later. I don't do it I don't actually show it, but that is just something that you could do if you wanted to make your design pop more. Depending on the colors, you could just add with a black Sharpie or pen or a white pen or even white paint with a really small paintbrush. You could just kind of go over and outline all of them, and that'll really make it pop and look cool. Oh, we're all done. Okay, here we go. Wait for it. And ta-da! Finished product. Looks so good. I cannot wait to see yours. I'm so excited. Now, if you love the idea of painting on vinyl records or anything like a circular shaped canvas, then I have a freebie for you. If you go to my website, you can download a digital guide on painting vinyl records, and it will go straight to your email. It's a bunch of different guides of different sizes that will help you kind of lay out your canvas in Procreate or in Illustrator, whatever you end up using. It is perfect for if you want to kind of digitally plan out what you want to paint on a circle kind of canvas or on a vinyl record. Highly recommend vinyl records because they look amazing. They're so vintage. I love the feel of them. So anyway, please tag me in your finished product because I want to share it and tell you how amazing you are and just fangirl over it with you. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the live stream.